Coming up on the Fish Hunt Forever podcast.
Last year, crossbows accounted for 48% of the total archery harvest. This year, it's 49% so far. Opened the show wearing that red and black plaid.
Yeah.
You know, and you talked about it being, you know, the way it used to be.
And he had the Jordan, the Breen, the Arnold, and the hole in the horn on the wall. And I said, you know, you don't keep them here. He said, oh no, they go in the vault.
This is the trailer I just picked up from Space Trailers. You might have saw them at the Aglow conference, Joe.
I did. I think they're super cool.
This is the Fish Hunt Forever podcast, formerly Sporting Journal Radio, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX.
All right, welcome to the show. I'm Brett Amundsen along with Dan Amundsen. We are both on the road right now. I'm stuck in the Twin Cities, and I actually I'm not that mad about it because I get to spend Thanksgiving with the family, which is always nice. But I was hoping to make it up to deer camp this week, where Dan is right now in Northwest Wisconsin. Dan, how's it going?
It's going. We're kind of punting this week. I feel like the Minnesota Vikings, and we're just sending a big old punt down the field, trying to figure things out this week.
Well, you've had kind of an interesting week up there. Surprising. You've had some success, but it's been pretty slow. We're going to talk about that coming up later in the show. Also, we'll kind of run through Minnesota's harvest numbers for deer and break down kind of the by weapon, how many people have shot how many deer, bucks, does, things like that. There's a new moose study that's going to be coming to Minnesota to try to figure out why some of the young moose aren't surviving. I got a new trailer, Dan. We learned about these trailers at the Aglow conference this year, and I'm taking one home this week to try out. I'll tell you about that one. And there's been a couple unique ducks that have made an appearance in Minnesota. In fact, one hunter actually shot one of them. I'll tell you about all those coming up later in the show. But first, Dan, who are the sponsors this week?
Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan an ice fishing trip to Lake of the Woods at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX Hunt, see private land boundaries, offline maps, and more. Take 20% off a new membership code with the code SGR20. Haybell Heights Campground and Resort. Fish Devils Lake this winter out of a snow bear. Learn more at haybellheights.com. Taz and Lake Lodge. Catch world record lake trout and giant pike at Saskatchewan's Taz and Lake. Learn more at tazandlake.com. Prairie Sportsman. We're filming new episodes right now. You can watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. And Trails End Outfitters Trophy bear, walleye, and whitetails in Saskatchewan. Learn more at trailsendoutfitters.com.
Hey, Dan. All right. Oh, your dad is behind you there, making an appearance on the show as well. And you know, it's been kind of a tough week for you up at deer camp because as we probably, I don't know if we talked about it last week on the show or not, but we were all going to try to go up there and have this big dinner. And some of the guys that haven't, like myself, that haven't been going to this particular deer camp for a number of years now, we're going to come back, and it's going to be a nice little deer camp reunion. And a couple of wrenches got thrown in that, including this big storm, and it all just kind of fell apart on us.
Yeah, it was like 7:30 yesterday morning, sitting in a tree and planning to see everybody, and then all of a sudden everyone just dropped like flies, and before I knew it, I was the only one here.
Yeah.
And it's caused a few headaches trying to figure this show out. We're gonna plan a few things a little differently, but here we are. So we're scrambling today to try to get a bunch of things done and figure things out for a holiday, but here we are.
Make it work. And it's too bad to be the only one up there, but you shot a deer.
Oh, I did, and that was with everyone else still up there. So that also started to throw a wrench in things too, because then it was almost wondering, do we all leave? Do we all do this? And now I've got a deer to take care of. Like, I could just hang it and leave, I guess, but I can't bring the deer back because you can't transport a whole deer into the state and into Minnesota. So not complaining about having a deer, but it's just a few things we had to think about. So today I don't know if we're going to hunt this afternoon or we're going to butcher or what, but we got some things to do before we run out of daylight here, and then make a trek south back to the Twin Cities on some potentially icy roads. But we've got a whitetail in the garage.
Well, I know some of the highways were clearing up pretty good today, so hopefully you'll have smooth sailing on the way back here. But do you want to talk about that deer?
Well, sure. If the people are interested in hearing about it, we've talked about me. I'm not a picky deer hunter, especially during the gun season. So I'm not saying that this is the only reason that we took this whitetail, but it has been slow, and so one of the guys missed a deer yesterday on Tuesday afternoon. He was sitting in his tree and decided to make a phone call trying to deal with some insurance things because, that's what you do when you're in a tree stand, apparently. And as he's doing that, a deer walks out in front of him, hangs up on the guy. A deer starts to run, pulls the trigger, clean miss. And so the joke was, all right, everyone just stay off your phones. We're not making phone calls in the tree stand. And so then yesterday morning, we're trying to sort all these things out, trying to figure out if you guys are still coming up, what the plan's going to be. I'm having like 42 different conversations with people, and so my phone starts to ring. And honestly, I thought it was going to be you or somebody else that knew I was deer hunting. I'm like, what idiot knows I'm deer hunting and is calling me right now? Pull my phone out. It's an unknown number from Nicollet, out of all places. And I'm thinking in my head, like, there's not a hotbed of Nigerian Prince phone call scammers from Nicollet. So I started Googling who it might be. And all of a sudden, a deer runs behind me quick. So I kind of throw my phone away and shoot the deer, dropped it. And it had a severe limp. Its leg was pretty much busted right off. So I felt good about us eating that one instead of a wolf or a coyote or a black bear, because especially with the snow now, 3 legs on a deer is not easy to run from a predator. But it seems to be phone calls are bringing our deer in. So we'd like to shoot more deer, so maybe start calling all of us more.
What's kind of hilarious about that is I've got an article on our fishonforever.com website that's a draft right now. I'm finishing it up, and it's 5 or 6 ways your phone can help you be more successful deer hunting.
Well, now there's one more.
I got to add another one to it. Make calls to the insurance company or to Nigerian princes in Nicollet. Got it.
Yeah, so I don't know. Well, maybe it was someone important that called me. I don't know. They didn't leave a voicemail. If you're trying to get a hold of me, leave a voicemail, please.
So you shoot this buck. It's I know it wasn't a giant rack on it, but probably a decent sized deer.
Yeah, it's gonna be great eating. We've got all the meat on it, so yeah, I'm kind of excited to dig into that, get the meat off the bone and figure it out and fill some more freezer space. We need a few more though.
And the thing having a broken leg, and we're already getting, and I don't know how much snow you got up in northwest Wisconsin, but it was supposed to be more than what we got here in the cities, and you get a heavy, wet, deep snow winter, and deer on 3 legs. There's wolves up there. There's black bears up there. You get the occasional mountain lion that roams through. That deer is going to struggle this winter.
Yeah, it would have been tough going. I mean, deer are really, really resilient and tough critters.
Sure.
It was going to try. It was going to do its darnest, but that leg was going to be banged up for a long time, if not gone at some point, completely gone. It was basically flesh hanging on. That was the only reason it was still hanging on there. So I would, I'd much rather have it be us that eat that deer than one of those other critters. They got to eat too, but we want the meat, and we have a lot of tags to fill. And where we're at, we each are 6 of us hunting this year, and each have a buck tag and 2 doe tags. So we've got a lot of tags, and so I don't, I could see trophy hunters might not want to burn their buck tag on a deer like that, but I have no problem doing it because we've got more we can fill, and we're all close enough that we're legally party hunting, so we're having fun.
I'm so just like, I wanted to come up there so bad, just seeing those Amundsen signs on the wall behind you there, and there was one that you put on your Snapchat. It makes me miss coming up to northwest Wisconsin for this, and actually
we had dumplings for lunch too. So.
Oh no, that's what we were gonna have while we were up there.
Yeah. Well, we've got a ton left now, so we just keep eating. We had them for lunch yesterday and lunch today.
We should mention that 9-day gun season in Wisconsin is such a tradition, and it still is to this day. Dan Small's got a special out. It's the 35th year he's done this Deer Hunt Wisconsin special, and he's actually going to join us on this show coming up here in a few minutes to talk about deer hunting in Wisconsin and some of the things on that. We're going to talk about white deer. What do you think, Dan? We can shoot them in Minnesota. You can't shoot them in Wisconsin. Say you could. You're out there in Wisconsin, you're hunting, and a nice buck, full white, walks by you. What are you going to do?
If it was a small buck, I'd still probably shoot it.
Yeah, it'd be hard not to.
That'd be way cool. I'd probably try to find somebody to see if I could get a full body mount for it.
Yeah.
If take the hide and do that and take the meat. I mean, it's still going to be venison on the inside, and I can get why people wouldn't. They're cool critters, and I don't think there's any biological problems with them. Maybe there are, but obviously they haven't wanted to eradicate them or anything. But they're cool, and I guess if it could be a sustainable thing. Why not?
So I think to me, there's a couple of things. There's the spirit animal part of the story, but Dan actually has somebody on his show talking about what if there was a hunting season on them, and some people that don't hunt really like these things. They may not give you permission to hunt their property if you were to, be in favor of shooting one of these white deer. And they're only found in 2 places in Wisconsin, so it's like 5-county area. So you could see a lot of pressure put on those areas potentially. Now we got those white deer by Mille Lacs up here. There is definitely some pressure, but getting at those deer is pretty tough because it's in a state. They're in a state park or they're on private land around it. So I don't know how much more hunting pressure there is because of those deer or not, but they're pretty neat critters in any case. So we're going to talk to Dan about that, and then a couple other things, non-toxic shot, and we'll talk about the Jordan buck from Danbury because there's a new statue in Danbury, and we'll talk about some more with Dan, plus Joe Henry. We'll talk Lake of the Woods and the St. Paul Ice Show that's coming up here pretty quick. Right now, Dan, we're going to do some headlines brought to you by Trails End Outfitters in Saskatchewan, offering guided whitetail and black bear hunting and ice fishing and open water fishing on Tobin Lake. Go to trailsendoutfitters.com. Check out our new video from my whitetail hunt up there along with Danny Thompson from Garmin. You can see that on the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. Dan, the deer numbers in Minnesota from the gun opener November 8th through Sunday, November 23rd. Hunters in Minnesota shot 131,623 deer. That's 9% up from last year's total. And then if you include everything from the beginning of the archery season, the harvest level is up 8% over last year. So we probably had an easier winter. There's probably more animals, better weather during the year this year. A couple of interesting numbers there. 60% of that harvest total were adult bucks. I didn't look to see if that was an increase from last year or not. 30% does, and then only 10% fawns making up the harvest this year. One number, of course, we talk about a lot on the show is what is the crossbow harvest? And last year, crossbows accounted for 48% of the total archery harvest. This year, it's 49% so far. So just up slightly. It was 12,100 deer shot with a crossbow, 12,500 deer shot with a vertical bow. So I'm curious to see if that number will continue to climb. So it's basically 50-50. Last year is basically 50-50. And if you remember last year, 48%, it was up 28% from the previous year. So crossbow usage is becoming more and more popular. And that buck harvest, 60% this year. A lot of bucks were getting killed. There's a new 5-year. What is going on with my phone right now? I keep trying to turn the volume down. There's a new 5-year moose study coming to Minnesota, Dan, and this is an LCCMR project. I think this is one we've talked about trying to film for Prairie Sportsman. They're going to try to study what's killing young moose. So they're going to try to study moose that are 8 months old to 3 months old, 8 months old, that math doesn't math, 8 months old to 3 years old. So there hasn't been really any research done on young moose. So essentially, I think they're going to try to figure out what's killing the calves out there. Is it wolves? Is it black bears? Is it brainworm? Is it something with the weather? Whatever the case may be, but it's a $2 million LCCMR project over the next 5 years. That's state and tribal leaders who will be studying moose up in northeast Minnesota. Remember when we were in Eau Claire, Dan? Remember that?
Yep.
We were at the Aglow conference?
Yep.
That was fun, huh?
Yep. Where are we going?
That's my Chris Farley interview.
Okay.
We met Mari Bodensteiner with Space Trailers, and she showed us one of these Space Trailers, and they're very light, durable trailers. They're for the guy that maybe doesn't have a full-size pickup, maybe just an SUV. You need a utility trailer to haul stuff. You want to haul an ATV, you want to put a kayak, you want to put a canoe up on top of this thing. They are going to be a new sponsor here on our show, and they gave us a trailer to try out. So this is me picking it up today. So they're off-road tires, all-terrain tires. They are, you get a nice spare there, then you got racks up on top of that lid. You got a flip-down gate on the back of it, and then this is also opens up the lid on this. So if you want to close up the trailer and cover whatever you have in there transporting, you can do that with this lid. Now that pops open. There's 6 tie downs on the bottom. It's like a kind of a rubber floor in there. And so you're not going to scratch it up. It's not going to scratch up whatever you put in there. You can tie stuff down. That's for dropping the tailgate. And then you can actually lift that lid off if you want to. Those 3 bolts, and then you just take the hinges off there, and you can pop that lid right off and put like I was told some wheelers, like Rich from Space Trailers dropped that off to me. He's like, some wheelers fit in there with that lid on, and then you can just strap the lid down over the top of the wheeler and not have to detach it. But otherwise it's like 5 bolts, I think, you undo, and you can get that lid off of there. But you can put a canoe or a kayak on top of that, and then you can tip it up and store it in your garage. And you don't need a lot of room for it. You don't need a lot of space for those space trailers. So we're excited to use that. And I was thinking if we had any time left to duck hunt, I don't know if we're going to run out. We're going to run out of time, but might try to throw a duck boat on top of that and go try to kill some mallards before the season ends here pretty quickly. But or throw the wheeler in it, and then you can actually take the wheeler out, hook the trailer up to the wheeler, and go out early ice fishing when wheelers are going out there on the lake. So excited to have that. And then Dan, did you hear about the common eiders that were in Minnesota?
I saw a headline about one once.
There was one on Lake Bemidji, and then apparently I saw this. I think this was on Outdoor News. They said that another one was shot in Otter Tail County on November 12th. And
I knew about a harlequin up towards the Bemidji area a couple weeks ago. But
that's wild. And where did we see, like Kansas or Nebraska? There was a king eider.
Yeah, supposedly, allegedly.
Yeah. That's pretty wild. I think some of these sea ducks roll through more often than we realize, and people just don't see them or don't recognize them when they come through. And obviously on Lake Superior, they get a few of them over there. But and then Outdoor News clarifies too that although those are rare, a common eider still falls under your daily duck bag of 6, of course. I wonder if you could shoot 6 eiders.
You bet you can.
That would be crazy.
You could shoot 4 a season in Alaska, but you get 6 a day here in Minnesota.
Right. All right. Well, you're jumping back in the stand, coming home for Thanksgiving, and then going to jump back in the stand this weekend?
That's the plan, at least for one day. So, yeah, trying to get a lot of chores done tonight so I can enjoy tomorrow and enjoy Friday and move on with life.
All right. Well, good luck the rest of the weekend. Well, we'll see you for Turkey, and then good luck the rest of the weekend up there. I know you're mad that you missed the Dan Small interview when I recorded it earlier today. But
I was at a tree stand, so I wasn't too mad.
Yeah, well, Dan was great. We're going to have him next. He's going to talk about his Deer Hunt Wisconsin special and more, including buffalo plaid and how that used to be the official color of the Wisconsin deer hunter back in the day. And Joe Henry joins us too. This segment brought to you by Tasman Lake Lodge, Trophy Lake Trout, Northern Pike in Northwest Saskatchewan. Go to tasmanlake.com for more information.
Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan your ice fishing trip today. We have over 60 lodging options with 30 full-service resorts featuring heated fish houses, ice transportation, meal plans, and sleeper house options. Fish from the famous Rainy River in the South Shore.
You never know what you're going to catch.
To the scenic Northwest Angle.
Here at the Northwest Angle.
Catch walleye, sauger, perch, sturgeon, eelpout, tullibee, northern pike, and more. Fish Minnesota's Lake of the Woods. Learn how at lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
All right, Dan Small joins us. Dan Small Outdoors here on the show. Dan, how you doing?
Doing great, Brett. How are you?
I appreciate you taking time out of the stand or the garage where maybe you're processing a deer. I'm not quite sure what you got going on today, but it's that holiday week, and it's not just Thanksgiving in Wisconsin. This whole week is a holiday for anyone that hunts in the state of Wisconsin, just because of the tradition of the 9-day gun season over there. How's your season been so far?
Well, it was pretty eventful. I hunted with my son for 2.5 days in Bayfield County, and where he owns and manages the land that I bought 50 years ago. So, we've been hunting that land for quite a while. And we just sit and wait. And we saw 3 bucks and shot the 2 biggest ones. And I brought one home, and that was the end of our season, really. It's uneventful except for those super exciting 10-second moments when there he is,
I joke a lot that deer hunting, everything changes in 30 seconds. Everything can change in 30 seconds. You might sit all day long, and you might not see a single animal, not even a squirrel, to get you excited, and then just in an instant, all of a sudden you can look up and there'll be a deer there.
Yeah, that's the way it is. And you have to be alert, obviously. I'm sure that when I dozed off, well, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but I know I dozed off, and I wouldn't be surprised if a deer or two sneaked past.
Well, no one's ever fallen asleep in a deer stand before.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
That's the big thing nowadays. My dad used to bring books out there, and now everybody brings their phone, and you can get so caught up, screwing around on your phone or, looking at pictures and videos and whatever. And what gets me is and I bring my phone, and I do use my phone in different ways. There's, like with the Onyx app, there's ways that you can utilize your phone while you're out there with weather and pictures and stand locations and blood tracking and things like that. But of course, everybody goes down the rabbit hole of swiping. And what gets me though is every once in a while I'll have my phone, all the sound turned off on that dang thing, Dan, and then all of a sudden I'll open up one of the apps and it'll be like some music will come blasting on, and there'll be some setting I missed, and then you're screwed for a little while. But you have to be alert out there for sure.
Yeah, you do. I use my phone almost exclusively to text back and forth with whoever I'm hunting with. If we see one heading the other guy's way, we let them know. In fact, I took a break on Saturday and bumped a deer coming back from the car because I was getting dopey, and came back from the car, and I bumped one, and I texted John, something coming your way, Al. I saw was the hind end of it running, and 5 minutes later he shot a buck. So it's probably the deer that I saw. And we've had that happen before. I'm sure you have too. And it's perfectly legal to communicate electronically because they can't stop us anymore. Everybody's got phones. But back in the day, you could not use electronics to communicate, and you still can't say, "Hey, I shot one. Come over here and put your tag on it."
Yeah, the rules definitely got a little gray there when everybody started texting more because they didn't want you to use radios to communicate. Yeah, and exactly. But now, everybody's got phones. I remember we were so nervous to text each other in the woods about anything because we just wanted to do everything by the book. Yeah. But and I like to see that there are still deer camps, there are still traditions out there in the Wisconsin woods, and it happens in other states, Minnesota, of course, too. But we grew up hunting in Northwest Wisconsin, and I don't hunt over there anymore, but this year I was actually going to go up and see the guys at camp. We've got this famous meal in our family. One of the guys will make dumplings, and it's from my grandma's old recipe, passed down, through generations. So it's kind of this traditional meal. And I was going to bring my dad, and my dad doesn't hunt anymore up there, but the two of us were going to go up and join the guys and have that meal. And then that storm came, and one of the guys got sick, and it all kind of fell apart. And Dan was up there almost, but I think there were a couple of the other guys still kind of in camp. They were thinking about leaving to beat the storm home. So Dan was basically up there by himself, and he shoots a nice buck. And here everybody, the whole crew from the traditional deer camp, they were basically all gone when Dan shot this. And it was the first year. It's the first deer they'd seen in the woods, I think. Maybe the second deer.
Wow.
Which normally we'll see some fawns or some does at least. But it's been pretty slow for them up there this year.
It was slow for us, too. We typically see does. In some years, we don't shoot them. This year, we each had a doe tag for private land. We bought those tags because of the new arrangement with new deer management units. And I wasn't going to shoot a doe the first morning, but after lunch, it was game on. Never saw one. And, you know, there have been years like last year, John said, well, we don't want to shoot any does. And so the last day that I hunted there, might have been muzzleloader season, I don't remember. Here comes, I couldn't count them, how many there were. It was 6 or 8 or maybe 10 does. And they milled around for a while. They got to my trail that I could see. I had one of those golden rope, from Wildlife Research, the rope hanging over the trail. And they got close to that, and then they turned around and they all ran back up the hill where they'd come from. And I wasn't going to shoot one anyway, but I could have shot 2 probably there, you know. And this year, with tags, and John said, shoot whatever you want. Well, didn't see one, but that's the way it goes.
It's never the way you plan it, I don't think.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
You know, I've got some of those golden ropes. I'm going to see if I can play one of these videos. Normally Dan's doing this job, but since he's in a tree right now, we'll see if I can do it. But I've got one of those golden ropes, and I'm going to have to figure out how to do this. Well, I'll just tell you about it for now anyway. And I put them up last year. I made some mock scrapes. I think I put 3 of them up, tried to make kind of a scrape line to funnel some deer towards my stand. And I got them to use it a little bit, but I left those ropes up through the off season. And then I didn't have any scent left this year, and I wasn't seeing any good bucks on camera. So I haven't actually bow hunted yet this year. I just used my muzzle loader during the gun season. So I didn't go out there really and maintain any of the scrapes or do anything to them. And I've got one that is the most active I've ever had. And, so I've got does using it. I've got about 4 or 5 different bucks using it. In fact, I had this little yearling buck on it the other day, and he took one whiff of that scrape and he started jumping up and spinning around in circles, and he was chewing on the rope and got all sorts of excited. So it's fun to see when you can see a product like that work really well.
Yeah, and of course the rope imitates a natural licking branch. And some folks hang a vine, or a branch over a scrape. Our videographer, Dave Roll, has a couple of those just natural vines or sticks. And he's got one that we're going to use some of this footage on next year's deer show, I'm sure. A sow bear and 2 cubs come and play with it. Almost, it's not every day, but, over the span of a week, they'll be there 3 times. And she chews on it. She actually broke the rope that it was hanging from, brought it down, and then they'd come back and they would paw it and they'd chew on it and roll on it. It was, it was crazy. And there's no scent on that. He just put the thing there as an object that looked like something that a deer would interact with. And he's got deer there. He's got does and bucks and the bear. So it's amazing what they will do.
I'm going to try to play this here. So this is that little buck. Whoop. He just got all sorts of excited on it. Yeah. Well, anyway, Dan, I want to talk a little bit about your special. 35 years you've been doing this special over there in Wisconsin. Of course, you've had the radio show for, how many years have you had that radio show now?
20 years now, yep.
How many?
20
years. Okay. And, but you've been doing this Deer Hunt Wisconsin special for 35 years. Where can people watch this?
It's always archived on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and type in Deer Hunt Wisconsin, you may have to add TV because a lot of people post things, but if you on YouTube, Deer Hunt Wisconsin, you should be able to see this year's full show and all the segments as well.
You've opened the show wearing that red and black plaid.
Yeah.
And you talked about it being, the way it used to be. And I can just picture, all the older guys in my family, the grandpas, that's what they wore. They all wore those things out there during the 9-day season. Yeah.
And we did that this year. Typically I'll wear an orange hat and maybe an orange jacket because this is supposed to be promoting and telling people about what to expect during the gun season. But because we had a deer camp segment with Dale Pitch and Steve Pitch and Bill Anderson and other guys at a camp probably similar to yours, they call it Silver Dollar Camp, and it's up in cornucopia, Wisconsin, where they're probably buried under 2 feet of snow now. My son sent me a photo from 8:30 this morning of 14 inches on his deck in Bayfield. I'm sure glad I left them Monday. Yeah. And the UP is supposed to get 3 feet. It's crazy. But anyway, we thought, you know what? Because we're featuring deer camps, let's wear something different. So I got my red and black plaid Stormy Chromer. I should have put it on for this interview, but I didn't. And a red and black plaid parka. That's buffalo plaid is what they call it. Mm-hmm. It comes in red and green typically, but red was the color for the upper Midwest deer hunter. And of course, over in Maine and Vermont, they wear green. The Benoit family, they wore a green and black plaid for whatever reason. I guess it looks like camouflage. I don't know. But yeah, we thought, let's do that just to kind of
throwback.
Focus on, yeah, exactly. Throwback tradition thing.
All right. Dan, we got to take a quick break, but I want to talk a little bit more about white deer in Wisconsin. Also, the Jordan buck, I thought we would talk about a little bit, and non-toxic ammo and more about deer hunting in Wisconsin with Dan Small when we come back.
It doesn't get much better than fresh perch and fresh walleye. If you're looking for an exciting winter fishing destination, come to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort is on the ice with a fleet of snow bears, keeping you mobile and warm so you can stay on the roaming schools of fish. Haybale Heights on the east end of Devil's Lake has knowledgeable guides, comfortable cabins, and their own lake access, making your trip as successful and stress-free as possible. To book your trip, go to haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com.
We're back. Dan Small is our guest right now. The 35th year of Deer Hunting Wisconsin is available now. Deer Hunt Wisconsin. And you can watch, I think it's on PBS over there, and then also on your YouTube channel. There's a couple things, we were watching it, and there's a couple things I wanted to talk about because Minnesota, there is a population of white deer around the south end of Mille Lacs, and it's kind of cool. There's a state park there, Father Hennepin State Park. I've gone there and taken pictures, and I've been fortunate the 2 times I've gone there to try to find a white deer to photograph. I've been actually been able to see it. One day, I did spend about 3 hours trying to tiptoe through the woods before I found it. I know a lot of people go there and struggle to find it, and there's more white deer in Wisconsin. And it was interesting to learn a little bit more about them over there. And it's the difference between Minnesota and Wisconsin, though, is you can't shoot them in Wisconsin. Minnesota, you can. And you had, I think it was a wildlife photographer on to talk about that in your special, Dan.
Yeah, Bob Haase, who has been photographing deer all over the state, he has some fabulous photos and videos of white deer in 2 areas of the state. Up in Vilas County, Boulder Junction is one area where there's a pretty good population, including some nice bucks. I mean, he had 2 mature, 8 or 10 pointers. And then down in the Wapaka area, there's a herd of deer, white deer. I shouldn't say a herd because they don't always hang out together, but sometimes they're family groups. And then somebody sent me a photo of some deer in Jefferson County, which is even farther south, of I think it was a doe and 2 yearlings and 2 fawns of this year. So 5 all white deer, all related. Now, we can legally shoot a piebald deer, that is a partially white deer, but you can't shoot an albino. And as Bob Haase explained, there are albinos which have a pink nose and pink eyes, and I think they have white hooves or light-colored hooves. Those are protected, but there are deer that are all white, but they're not albino. They've got brown eyes, and, the only thing about them that's different is the white coat. And then there are deer that some of them look like Holsteins. They're black and white or brown and white, Those you can shoot. I don't know anybody. I've seen a few of them mounted, but I don't know anyone who's shot one in recent years. And most people just like to see them and photograph them because they're just real special,
They are very special, and I go back and forth on it. I'm surprised that it's not legal. And I know for the albinos, they can have some health issues. So I know I've talked to a lot of biologists who think that there almost should be a hunting season on them just to take the genetics out. Of course, then you don't have that special deer that non-hunters like to go see and take pictures of. So you run that risk, but they may only live for a couple of years anyway if they're lucky. Even white deer, they may not have some of those genetic deficiencies other than the leucism that affects their color, but they stick out like a sore thumb in the woods. Yeah. So they can easily be spotted by predators, obviously hunters, things like that. So those bucks that you showed on your special, like those are some of the biggest white deer with the biggest racks that I've seen. I know over here, I don't know, I mean, it's pretty rare that we get one near that size, at least to my knowledge. Sometimes those things are kept secret since you can hunt them over here. But I don't know. I think, I don't know. How do hunters feel about that over there in Wisconsin, you think?
I don't talk to many hunters about them. I suspect that the opinions about them are more pronounced in the areas where you see them. I've never seen one in the woods. I've seen one white turkey once, and I know there are a few of those around. I don't know what the percentage is, like 0.00 something percent, I suppose. Yeah, I really don't know, Brett, to be honest with you.
I was going to say I'd almost have to do a full body mount, which my checkbook wouldn't like that very much, or most likely a credit card wouldn't like that very much. But as someone, particularly in the bird world, man, if we see a hybrid or an albino or a blonde mallard or something like that, or a blue phase Ross's goose or something like that, I mean, we're shooting that thing and it's going on the wall for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Big game is obviously a little different, and deer I've been saying this now for the last couple months, deer make people crazy. So if they have an opinion about whitetails that doesn't align with your opinion, they're going to burn your house down. Like they get so worked up about it that they're going to let you know that they don't agree with you, and that makes it real tough. It makes it real tough to change any regulations that are already in place. But it makes it tough just to manage deer in general. I was just reading something on Facebook or somewhere, and it was about something in Minnesota. I think that Outdoor News had put Minnesota's harvest numbers out or something, and I hadn't read the article yet, but I just went to the comment section because that's where the entertainment is. Right. And just every single one was bashing the DNR about deer management. And I think the DNR, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, whoever, I think that they could have the highest number of trophy bucks on record, and you would still get over half the population of hunters would complain about something like, well, I didn't see them in my area, or too many wolves or something. Like they're always, and don't get me wrong, I complain about the DNR about certain things plenty, but sometimes it's just like you can't do anything right. Yeah, I don't think I'd want that job of the deer biologist. I've had a couple of friends who took that job, as a promotion, and one of them went from turkey and grouse biologist to deer biologist. I said, "Are you out of your mind?" He was there a couple of years, Then he moved on up the line. But it's when people are passionate about something, they have opinions, and it's real hard to convince them that the science says something when they personally observe something else. Right, for sure. Well, and honestly, it's good to have people that are that passionate, because if you didn't have 5, 6, 700,000 people out there that are participating in an activity that we care so much about and get passionate about, it would go away, or it wouldn't be cared about as much as it is. So you have to deal with those passions. Unfortunately, it's part of the gig when you have something that's this popular, and in the long run, it's good for everything. And there are some big deer out there, and historically, there's been some big deer out there, Dan. And I want to bring up the Jordan buck, because where we have hunted in Northwest Wisconsin, it's not too far from Danbury. It's not right by Danbury, but it's not too far away. So we've known the story of the Jordan buck for years. And but I don't know, 10 years ago or so, when I had my magazine, I went and did some interviews and learned a little bit more, and learned a lot more about that Jordan buck story than I ever knew. That story is remarkable. I mean, not just how, just how big it is, and the fact that the guy was a meat hunter and he went out there and shot this giant, but the fact that it was a Wisconsin deer, then it was a Minnesota deer, and then it was a Wisconsin deer. Like, the whole thing is fascinating.
To me, the craziest thing about it, and it may be karma, is that Jim Jordan, who shot this deer, I don't recall if it was he or his son, someone took the antlers to a taxidermist, who then moved out of state, left the antlers in the house, which was abandoned for 50 years or something, some huge crazy number like that, where people could have broken in, stolen things. Maybe they did, but they didn't want the antlers. Antlers were rediscovered. I think his son or a relative bought them at a yard sale. I mean, what are the odds? That's karma. I mean,
for like $2.
Yeah. I'd pay $2 for them.
A world record set of antlers.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And now in Danbury, if you haven't seen it, you've got to go see that statue. They have a statue of fiberglass like the big walleye up in Baudette, Minnesota, where you turn to go to Canada. It's a bigger than life-size Jordan buck with the big rack on it, and we feature that on the show this year. And they have an annual Jim Jordan Day, Jordan Buck Day.
That's pretty neat. So how old is that statue up there then?
It's been there about 5 years, I think.
Okay, I was wondering why, because I've driven through Danbury a lot. I hadn't been through there in a few years now, but I didn't remember that buck statue.
No, they decided, we got to do. I think it was the 100th anniversary. They started working on it because that deer was shot in 1914. But at any rate, they got it now, and it's there.
I think that was around 2014 or 1914, because I think it's coming back to me now. I think it was right around that 100th anniversary when I ended up doing the story back in the day for the magazine. Sure. So, yeah.
I've had my hands on the actual rack.
Oh,
and
really?
Mark LaBarbera, whom you know well, wrote the first Wisconsin Buck and Bear Club record book. And he had the rack before it was mounted. He had it at one of Glenn Helgeland's deer and turkey expos back, 40 years ago, something like that. And Larry Huffman ended up buying it and mounting it and creating those legendary whitetails. He had the Hole in the Horn and the Arnold and the Breen and the Jordan and a couple others I can't think of, but legendary bucks. And now, of course, they're all down in the Bass Pro Museum. And the replicas there are replicas, probably, 3 dozen sets or something like that. They're here and there around the country in places where people can afford to buy them and display them. But, we did a show with Larry on his place outside of West Bend, Wisconsin, and he had the Jordan, the Breen, the Arnold, and the Hole in the Horn on the wall. And I said, "Are these the originals?" He says, "Oh, yeah, these are real horn." And I said, "What? You don't keep them here?" He said, "Oh no, they go in a vault. When they're not on display." So I don't know what they're doing with them down there in Springfield, Missouri. But anyway, it's a neat story. It really is. And the folks in Danbury have capitalized on it. I mean, how many towns can say they're the home of the world record deer?
Right.
World record anything, for crying out loud.
It's a great idea. I'm sure the deer hunters around there are like, shh. Quit telling people that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you had Mark on the show, didn't you? Mark LaBarbera? Yeah. How's he doing?
He's doing well. Yeah, he's the co-producer of the show with me.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah, and he finds our sponsors, and he contributes a lot of the good content, that we feature. He's the one who came up with Bob Hazy and the white deer story.
I got you. Okay.
And the drone recovery. I think Dave Roll, our videographer, found Dan Lee, the guy who does that. That was an interesting story too.
That thermal drone stuff and the recovery, it's interesting that I think Dan and I were just talking about it the other day that, and I don't know if it rules vary by state, but I can't remember where he was talking about this particular instance, but he said the drone operator, if he sees the deer moving, he can't tell you where it is.
Right.
But if it's just laying there, then he can go recover it. And I had a buddy that just his kid shot a giant buck, and it ran into a swamp, and they lost blood. So he called up this drone operator, paid him to come out, and sure enough, immediately he found the heat, flipped over to the regular camera, and there it was laying there dead. Like I bet he found it within 5 minutes, something like that. And so it was, it's a couple $100 to hire a guy to do that. But obviously, especially with that big deer, it was worth it. Yeah.
Of course, you can take a trained dog or even an untrained dog. We tried to find a doe that I had wounded and lost several years ago with a friend's dog that I can't remember what breed she was, but a good dog, but not a hunter, and she just didn't know what she was doing there. Couldn't find the deer. But trained dogs, hounds, and others will track a deer, and some people do it for fun, and some will do it for hire, the way the drone folks are doing.
Well, and I've seen it, even I just had my dogs on leashes when I came back the next day to try to find a deer that I'd shot, and they just smell an animal. It kind of leads you to it if it's not a hard track to find. It's always good to recover those deer. There's nothing worse than losing one, particularly one that you hit pretty good. So finding a way to recover them is important. And Dan, one other thing I wanted to talk about was we did a story on Prairie Sportsman a few years back about copper rifle bullets and non-toxic. And I rarely hunt with my rifle anymore. That may change if Minnesota gets rid of the shotgun zone here where I hunt, which they started changing things this year for us. So I may bring my 30-06 back, but I bought bullets for my old Remington 700 back when I was hunting Wisconsin. So I probably bought a box 15 years ago, shoot 1 or 2 bullets a year, and I've still got these things sitting around. But when you see the demonstration of a copper bullet versus a lead bullet and the splintering that a lead bullet has, and I know you can say there hasn't been, negative effects on humans from these things, but at the same time, if I see a piece of meat, and most people will cut around it, but if I see a piece of meat and I don't know that there's a bunch of lead fragments in there, I don't really want to eat that. And the retention that those copper bullets have is amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable when they shot into a drum of water, and that's how they, and the expansion, you could see it in the gel blocks too. They hold their mass and they kill. That's what we use. I've been shooting copper now since we actually did that segment several years ago, and thought it was so, noteworthy that we'd air it again. And I've been shooting copper since that day, and Dave Roll's been shooting copper for at least a decade or more, and it kills just fine. We killed 2 bucks with copper bullets this year.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue a lot of people have had is, A, they think the DNR is trying to control them, and B, the cost of copper has always been the biggest issue. But as you know, and I've been told, as more and more people start to use it and realize just, A, the retention is so much better. There are benefits to other wildlife out there that might come try to eat your gut piles, things like that. The cost is going to come down as copper bullets and more non-toxic options become more popular and are purchased more. The cost will come down because production will go up, more production equipment will be added, and that cost will be offset in the long run. So 35 years you've been doing that show, Dan. If you look back on 35 years, what would you say are some of your favorite stories from that show, or some of the favorite segments you've done?
Well, the first year was back in 91, and it was a live broadcast.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Those of us in TV and radio know what live means. And oh boy, it was just the tip of the iceberg there. We had several recorded segments. I don't even remember what they were, but then the deer biologist and I sat in front of a fireplace with a fake fire going on. It was a VHS tape loop of a fire in the fireplace, and we used the membership drive studio, and we had DNR biologists and managers and wardens and staff on the phones, and we put the number on the screen. And that first night, and this was before the internet was really doing anything, and I think the DNR had a new DOE regulation. I can't remember what it was. Might have been getting rid of party tags or something that they wanted to get the word out. And the phones lit up when they put the number on the screen. And an hour after the show ended, and it was a full hour on PBS statewide, one other guy and I went around and took every phone off the hook because they were still ringing. And that show had the highest rating of anything that Milwaukee PBS aired in the whole month of November of 1991, including National Geographic and Nature and all those, because of that, that interest. People wanted to know about what are these changes in the deer license deal, and how's that going to affect my hunting?
Yeah.
So that's really the most memorable. We had a couple of slip-ups on live TV, not that year, but another year. A brick fell off of the fake fireplace while we were doing a tape part, and we put that brick back on. And then I think another episode, I was jogging the day of, and I twisted my ankle on a route in the woods, and I was hobbling around. So one of our floor directors had one of those, I don't know what you call it, but a brace, that's elastic brace that you slip over your foot. And he loaned me that, and I had just stocking, I had a sock on that foot. And of course, you didn't see my feet, but I mean, there's silly stuff like that. But as far as the segments go, a couple years ago, we featured some young men who are Down syndrome people. Steve Panaz's son. And
Pierce.
Yes, Pierce, you know him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't hunted with him, but I know him.
You know him, okay. And and Justin Morrissey's a young man that he mentors.
Joey.
And, Joey, yes, yeah. The enthusiasm of those two young guys, and they each shot a deer, and their emotions are right there. They're hiding nothing. They just give you everything, and it's all love and joy. And boy, to me, that was just one of the most remarkable segments we'd ever done. And, we didn't shoot the footage. They did. Justin did and Steve did, and we put it together, of course, with Dave Roll's magic editing. But that was a great show. And then there was another segment.
Dan, before I'm just going to stop you real quick, because there's Joey's deer from this year with Justin right there. Yeah.
Wow. With Justin.
Yeah, with Justin, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm glad that they are doing that, because, it's, as you know, it takes a lot of energy and effort to mentor anyone, but especially someone with special needs.
Yeah.
And it was just, we got a lot of comments on that segment too.
I bet.
It was a special one for me.
Well, it's very neat. And can you see how many of the old episodes are available online then? Are they all on there?
No, probably the last 6-7 years, something like that.
Okay.
So you can see that one that we're talking about,
Very cool.
And the old ones, well, I've got them on VHS or DVD.
Get them up there. Get them up there, Dan.
I suppose we could, yeah.
That's the way of the world these days, the old YouTube. So is it your YouTube channel?
Yes. Yeah, I own it.
And is it Dan Small Outdoors?
No, it's Deer Hunt, Wisconsin.
Deer Hunt, Wisconsin. All right,
Yeah.
So look for that on YouTube. And of course, your outdoor radio show is on a number of radio stations.
We have 20 stations in Wisconsin and Minnesota. We've got stations in Little Falls and Austin, I believe.
Oh, cool.
And folks can find my show on LakeLink, lake-link.com/radio, and then you'll see, if you scroll down, you'll see a list of our stations in Wisconsin and Minnesota.
But you can listen to it as a podcast on there as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
very
It's
cool.
on Link. It's on iHeart. It's on OutdoorNews.com, their podcast.
Well, I know Dan is not going to be happy that he missed this interview because he used to watch you all the time, and you were one of his favorites on TV growing up. So, but he's out there trying to fill the freezer now and hunting with his dad, and they hunt out of the same stand. So Dan's 25 now. Still climbs up into the same stand with his dad every year for the Wisconsin deer season. It's one of those ladder stands it's a little, it's got the two directions, not the straight one.
Oh.
It's angled a little bit so they can both look different directions. And they got a tradition of, one of them falls asleep, the other one stays awake and
Nudges him and says, "Here comes one."
Yeah, pretty much. Don't need the cell phones for that one.
No.
So. All right, Dan. Well, it's good having you on. Congrats on the buck during the season this year. Thanks for joining us, and good luck the rest of your fall over there.
Yeah, thank you, Brett. Always great talking with you.
Sick of eating tag soup? It's time to own your odds this fall with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. Now you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, optimal wind for each stand, tracks, and much more. All at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code SJR20 at checkout to receive 20% off your membership. That's code SJR20.
All right, Joe Henry joins us wearing an awesome blue hoodie right there.
Tell you what, man, it doesn't get any better than this. I just went into a store and somebody goes, "Oh, what does your sweatshirt say?" And she read it. She goes, "Fish hunt forever." She goes, "Damn right." And I go, "Amen."
Well, you got to get one of the camo ones now with the old school camo.
Oh, that looks cool too.
Yeah, that matches the Fundra. So, Lake of the Woods tourism, Joe. What's going on up at Lake of the Woods? We ice fishing yet, or what?
Well, I'll tell you what. We got cold weather coming. The weekend of Thanksgiving, we got single digits, and I'll tell you, things are going to start going really quick. I mean, we had ice melted in some areas, some of the bays and back inlets kept it, but now it's going to get locked up pretty darn quick, and I can anticipate some spearing for pike in the back bays fairly soon. I know darn well as soon as we get ice, those ice guys are going to be out checking trails, marking trails, doing all that. And, we always talk about December 10th is normally when day houses get out, give or take based on Mother Nature. But I'll tell you what, before that, they normally allow ATVs and collapsible fish houses. And when anglers can get on that ice, Brett, I'll tell you, that first ice is so darn good. So we're excited about the weather forecast right now. We have the St. Paul Ice Fishing Show coming up, and we're excited to be talking to a bunch of excited ice anglers at that show. And, of course, the Lake of the Woods Tourism's booth is, I'll give you 2 points of reference, and you can tell me which one people will remember the most. Number one, we're right at the base of the escalator, the main escalator when you come in. Or number two, we're at the base of the escalator right across from the bar.
All right. People will know where that is.
I think some people will. I'll tell you, I have to admit that there's times where I'm a little envious, watching people grab their favorite beverage and walk around and have a good time with their buddies, but we're going to be giving away, so we'll be talking fishing, ice fishing, of course. It's always nice answering a lot of questions. People might have questions on certain resorts or maybe traveling to the Northwest Angle or, what kind of sleeper houses does this resort have? I answer a lot of questions, of course. We have nice conversations, catch up with a lot of people that you see every year. And we're also going to be giving away our new visitor guide for Lake of the Woods tourism that people can take if they want. And then on top of that, we have traditionally we give away an ice fishing trip. And this year, Ken Marquis Resort, located on Bostic Bay, is giving away an ice fishing trip. And Brett, have you ever been to Ken Marquis?
I have not. We need to do a trip there, Joe.
We do. I'll tell you what, Bob and Wanda put up they have a beautiful, cute little resort, super clean, and they got some of the best darn food on the lake. I mean, they got these homemade pizzas that are gargantuan and the fresh ingredients. They got an all-you-can-eat taco night. They just do some very unique things. Very good reputation for food. Do a little bar and just a neat little resort. But anyway, they're throwing up a trip for the ice fishing show, and the trip makes it nice. People can come over and scan a QR code with their smartphone and register for that. Same time they sign up for our newsletter, and it helps Lake of the Woods tourism as far as building up our newsletter, and it allows us to chat with some more people naturally, and it's good. It's good for the area, and we sure appreciate them doing it.
Well, you talk about being by the bar, Joe. I mean, that's ice fishing nowadays. The two kind of go together a little bit, and it's funny. I was listening to a podcast. I think it was one of the big radio shows in the cities or something, but one of the guys, they were all none of them really ice fished much, didn't really know much about it, but kind of had seen it, and they're like, well, it's guys sitting on buckets, or it's guys in these big campers drinking beer and watching TV. I'm like, well, and then they were trying to say that wasn't very challenging to, like ice fishing is there's no challenge to it because you just leave a line in the water all the time. And I was like, come sit out in one of the houses and see. I mean, it's still fishing. It's not like you're just reeling fish in hand over fist when you're out there on the ice.
Well, I'll tell you, I think it comes down to that old saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And, I mean, it's, the funny thing I have, though, is, number one, we talked about 100 things, and the one thing that you picked out is the bar. You're talking about the bar. Oh, so I know where your head's at.
Yeah, I mean, it's ice
but
fishing.
But even that is nice fishing anymore. Like, when you and I and Danny and last year, Jen Pudens and Ray Ruiz went up, we didn't really partake in the fish houses at all. We were fishing, we were filming and getting good assets. And then, of course, we saved our cocktails for the end of the day, and we went in for dinner and happy hour and stuff. But to each their own. Don't get me wrong. I've been there, done that. And I'll remember, I'll never forget this one. It was kind of fun. We were having breakfast at one of the resorts. I think it might have been Sportsman's Lodge at the time. And the ice was thick. So the bombardiers were out on the Rainy River ice. And there was 5 bombardiers out there. And you could watch these guys go get loaded up in the bombers. And every guy had a rod bag, a 5-gallon pail with their electronics and tackle, and a case of beer. So I just thought, oh my gosh, it's like a clone there. Everybody was cloned in line, Well,
I'm going to show you something here. Let's see if I can do this. All right. Dan's not here to do this for me, but this is the trailer I just picked up from Space Trailers. You might have saw them at the Aglow conference, Joe.
I did. I think they're super cool.
Yeah. And so my plan is actually to load the wheeler up into this and then take this. I've got a new hub this year that I got. So nice. I actually want to do some early ice fishing with my wheeler and then this trailer. So you're able to load an ATV into that. You can, depending on the size of your ATV, you can actually get it in there with that roof, that lid still on it. Otherwise, there's 3 bolts. Basically, you just pop those bolts off and you can take that lid right off and put your wheeler up there, drop that tailgate down. And then the whole idea behind these space trailers is that they're really light. You can actually tip them up on that back tailgate and store them, against the wall in your garage, and they take up very little space. Hence, I don't know if that's where the name Space Trailers comes from exactly. I think that's part of it, but that's kind of neat. So I'm excited to use that this year and do some fishing before it. Normally, I don't go ice fishing until I can drive my truck out there, but this year I might. The fishing is always so much better earlier than that time. So I think I'll try to get that trailer out there. And
yeah, I think those space trailers, I remember not only is it kind of cool because you can set it straight up in your garage and save a bunch of space, but also it's light enough, very durable, but light enough based on the materials it's made out of that you can pull it with a smaller automobile.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think that's kind of the target is people that are maybe in more city type settings, don't have a lot of storage space. Maybe they don't have a full size pickup or something like that, more of an SUV or, a smaller truck. Some of these, 1/4-ton trucks are getting more popular and more durable. It's very light. I mean, when we swapped it on vehicles today, it was, you could just pick it up, move it over, you can drag it and push it around. I met my parents and put it in their garage, and I just basically wheeled it in there, and I didn't tip it up, but it's amazing how light they are for how durable they are.
Yeah, pretty cool product. And of course, you and I both met these folks at the Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Writers Conference, which, next year it's going to be in Niagara Falls, New York. But 27.
Where's that going to be, Joe?
Where's it going?
Where's it going?
2027, Lake of the Woods, Minnesota, baby.
Well, if you want to be a member of Aglow and catch big fish, you have to go where the big fish are.
I heard a song about that once, and Very professionally written, very well done.
That dang AI stuff. I just finished editing up a segment for Prairie Sportsman, Joe. I'll just tell this story real quick. And I sat down the other night and I haven't done an AI song for a while, and I dove back into it, and I wrote this AI song that I think is just perfect for this segment for Prairie Sportsman. And it's about a guy that had a heart transplant, and then I took him pheasant hunting 10 months after his heart transplant. And I filmed it about 5 years ago. I've been sitting on the footage trying to figure out what to do with it, and it's going to be on the new season of Prairie Sportsman next year. And it makes me sick that I'm using AI music, because I love music so much. I got a lot of friends that are musicians. I feel bad about it, but it's so good. It's scary.
I know it. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I heard part of that song, I believe, because you were working on it real late at night, right?
Oh, on Snapchat.
And like 12:30 on Saturday night, but I thought the words were very, very thoughtful words, and you could tell that within the song. So I thought that was cool. You talk about the AI music, and I feel the same way. You have these wonderful musicians, and AI is kind of dampening their trade. I'm sure they hate it, but it's just so efficient. I have to say, I don't think anybody would ever remember an AI song. If you want to catch a big fish, you have to go where the big fish are.
So good. So good.
Yeah. I mean, it turned out really good.
Yeah.
So, being a rock and roll DJ, you might sing a little different than I do, but nonetheless, we're still on the same page.
Yeah, 100%. I can't wait. We'll have the 5th annual SGR 500 coming up next April at Riverbend Resort. We'll probably start putting the info out there here pretty soon, start making plans for that one. But it got pretty big
let me say this, man. Let me interrupt you once, because we should really open this up. There's a lot of people that go spring fishing up to the Rainy River anyway. And the more people I talk to, I'm like, man, there's that SJR 500 fishing tournament with some really, really good people that fish it. And, if you're going to go up there, spring fishing anyway in the Rainy River, why not go up? I mean, what's the entry fee per person? Do you remember?
$40.
$40 a person. You're going to be fishing anyway. It gives you a chance to do the Fish Donkey app. You don't have to be at takeoff at Riverbend in the morning. You can be wherever you want. The tournament just starts at a certain time. I mean, it's just easy. And but I would say if you go spring fishing up in the Rainy River, check out to see if that the dates of that tournament would work out for you. And that's a fun one. And boy, we get together at Riverbend at night, and usually we have a little bit of food, have a couple cocktails, and I'll tell you what, you always do that live radio show, and that turned out so good. That's a fun show, isn't it?
It is a lot of fun, and I love doing the show out of my studio, but anytime you can get on the road, it can be fun. Like at my parents' house, they just bring me random chocolate glazed donuts, like this one.
Man!
But that one at Riverbend, I love having a live audience. Like being able to do the show in front of an audience. And I've done radio for so long, and we used to joke that when you do a radio show, it's like you're locked in a padded room for 4 hours, talking to yourself. Easy to go a little cuckoo. And you try to do something entertaining or something funny, and you tell it on the radio, and there's no, like you're just throwing it out there, and you have no idea if anything is sticking. But when you're in a room full of people that have maybe had a beer or 6, you can tell when what you're doing is working based on the audience's reaction. And that just being able to feed off that energy is so much fun. Like I absolutely love doing that show up there at Riverbend.
Yeah, there's some good people that fish that, both male and female anglers, but just good, salt of the earth people. Yeah, nobody thinks they're better than anybody else. They want to win, they want to compete, but at the same time, it's not that serious of a tournament, and it's just kind of it's almost like a tradition of honoring the spring Rainy River fishing experience, isn't it?
I think that's a great way to put it, because that's exactly what I had in mind with it. And the sturgeon, walleye are always going to be first for me, but sturgeon have gotten so popular now. To see the boats, 2 years ago when there was more of the river open. I think it was all the way past the gap 2 years ago. Last year we didn't quite make it there, but we piled up into 4 Mile Bay there, and there were so many sturgeon stacked up in there that we had 40 boats just anchored around each other. There was music playing. My buddy had a Blackstone going, and he was making burgers and driving around and handing out. It was Uber boats. an Uber boat, whatever, however you want to, Uber Eats out of a boat there that day. And I mean, it's just and it was a beautiful day on the river, and we were catching fish, you know, and you have the chance to catch the biggest walleye of your life, and then the biggest fish of your life, with, you know, even if it's a 50, 60 inch sturgeon. Like that's a very cool and unique opportunity.
It's a great bite. I mean, like you said, yeah, we were having fun. It was social, but you were also catching. Like everybody was catching. They weren't there because of the brats. They were there because they were catching sturgeon. Oh, by the way, pretty nice that boat went around and handed brats out. You know, if you remember, Brad, a couple years ago, you and I fished together, and remember the one day how hard it was snowing, and we were jigging. And I remember we weren't doing great. One here, one there, and we looked over at your dad. Your dad was fishing with your brother and his wife, but I remember your dad was sitting out, you know, instead of being under the canopy of the boat, he was out in the open, just getting hammered by snow in his 80s, just sitting out there hardcore as can be, jigging away, you know.
Completely white on one side of him where the snow was pounding into him.
Well, then, you know, I remember we also, you know, first when we went out, we're like, oh, man, it's going to freaking snow today. It's going to be fun. Well, we get out there, and actually the snow is beautiful. Once you're out there, it was beautiful. Yeah. Remember some of the photography and the videos we got with those big snowflakes coming down? That was really cool. And then if you remember, we made an adjustment because we weren't doing great on jigging. Right. Remember what that adjustment was?
Yeah, we switched to pulling crankbaits 3 ways.
And three ways. So we use a 3-way swivel, one dropper line with like a 2-ounce weight down to the bottom. I think we had that up about 2.5 feet. And then we had a 6-foot piece of mono with a swivel, and we pulled a shallow diving crank. And that way you can go up and down those holes. You can go into the shallow water. You can come out from shore a little bit and hit that deeper hole, see if anything's living there. And we went up and down all around. And I'll tell you what, those fish, you know, we go from jigging and just picking one here and one there. We started pulling cranks. It was pop, pop, pop. In fact, when we finished up, which is up by Frontier, that landing, we were whacking some really good fish. We could see them in a graph. We had a pattern, and the day was over.
Yeah. That damn tournament ends too early.
I know it. But it was that was even just kind of a fun day because of the snowflakes and stuff. But then the way we adapted and kind of get those fish dialed in. Well, we were really dialed for a while, and the fish were getting bigger. And
well, if you remember, we had guys there that were chiseling open the accesses that year too. Because some of those accesses were frozen.
Everybody participated in busting out, you know, because as soon as you get that extra access open, now you divide the traffic by 2. You get a third, you divide the traffic by 3. It just makes life easier.
All right, let's see if I got it pulled up at the right time here, real quick. Here's some of the snow that day. Dan would be
look at that,
professional and have this loaded into the system, but I'm just going to play.
There's your brother's boat.
There's my dad.
There's your dad.
Yeah.
Look at the snow falling off him.
Yeah, we caught fish. You can watch that video on the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. It is titled Rainy River Fishing Tips in a Snowstorm. But it was, is that our first year, the SGR 500, or is that year 2? I can't remember.
Wait, how many years have you done it now?
Well, this will be that last year was the 4th year, so that might have been.
This will be year 5.
This will be year 5.
Yeah. Can't lose track. I have a hard time remembering what happened yesterday, let alone 5 years ago.
Well, Joe, good luck at the St. Paul Ice Show. That's actually right around the corner, the unofficial kickoff to the ice fishing season. And if people want to get a trip booked to Lake of the Woods and they're trying to figure out, you know, where should I go, what's available, how do I get a hold of these places, you've got a website for them.
We do have a website. I should mention before I say that website, if it's okay with you.
No.
Everybody check out the Min Fish auction.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's a Min Fish auction going on, and they're giving away a whole bunch of really cool ice fishing stuff. There's an ice castle. There's an advertising package donated by Brett Amundsen himself, the Fish Hunt Forever crew. It's a 3-month package, and I can tell you that if you have any kind of business at all that has to do with the outdoors or outdoor recreation, Brett will make sure that it pays off for you. And but just really a lot of great gear, a lot of tackle, rod combinations, trips. I know there's some ice fishing trips with some really well-known guides, just a whole bunch of great stuff going on that Minfish website. And there it is. Yep.
Dan's going to make fun of me for doing this, but I got...
Hey, it works, you know.
I got donut stuff all over my fingers here. Yeah, there's 70 items on here. And our package is a 3-month advertising package. It's valued at $1,500. Right now, the opening bid on it is $600. Go to it's mn-fish.com, correct? Or .org.com?
Yeah.
Hang on. I'll find it. min-fish.com. All right, there we go.
Otherwise, find Minfish on Facebook. The link's there too, and wherever. But Minfish is that organization that promotes quality sport fishing in the state of Minnesota. Instrumental in driving a lot of money towards sport fishing in Minnesota that otherwise wouldn't be driven towards sport fishing. So it's really an important organization. Brett, I know you support them very much. I'm on the board. Good group of people advocating for the right things.
I'm a life member. It's
awesome. As am I. Before I became a board member, I got a life membership also because it's that important.
Very good, Joe.
How's that donut, by the way?
Oh, it's so good.
Well, I tell you, you go home and you really get spoiled, don't you?
I do. My mom baked me a bunch of chocolate chip cookies, my favorite.
Kidding me?
Thanks, Mom. And then just brought me this donut. Like, I think she's trying to make me fat, but I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm way ahead of her. Doing that myself.
You do me a favor. You say hi to Roadkill and your mom for me.
Oh, I'm supposed to say hi to Roadkill. All right. Perfect. Joe Henry says hi.
That's Brett. That's Brett's dad, by the way, and that was from a segment where Brett filmed a segment up at Arneson's with all the buddies that used to go fishing together, and his nickname was Roadkill, and that's another story. But Brett's dad, Ron, is just a credible guy, great guy. His mom's wonderful, and you do have a great family, Brett. You're blessed. I think as we're on the holiday season, all of us have to appreciate what we do have, right? Everybody has struggles in their life, but let's appreciate what we do have, and tell you what, we sure have some opportunities ahead of us with ice coming, don't we?
Absolutely. Very fortunate, and that just means we should just all be extra cautious too out there as well.
Yep.
Whether you're driving through a snowstorm or going out on early ice, just be safe and think about those around you as well as those fish that are swimming under the ice when you're doing it.
Be smart. Wear your ice picks, wear float coats. Don't go out if it's risky. Have somebody else with you. Have a rope. What am I missing? Have your cell phone charged up. If you can work, when you're on big water, if you try to work with somebody who monitors an ice road or an ice trail, that'll keep you safer. Don't veer off the trail. Don't go, going somewhere out in no man's land because you want to get away from the people. Stay on the trail during early ice. Very important advice.
100%. All right, Joe, where should they go if they want to learn more about a trip to Lake of the Woods?
Hey, check our website, and that is lakeofthewoods.mn.com.
Thanks for listening to the Fish Hunt Forever show. Download the Fish Hunt Forever podcast wherever you get podcasts or watch on the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. If you like today's show, please give us a 5-star review. Find past shows, articles, news about regulations, and more at fishhuntforever.com.